It's the weekend, we've got a lot of people in the house, and I want to fly a quadcopter, and this one just showed up. This is the Syma X5HC-1. I've only ever flown one Syma quadcopter before. That's the Syma X11, the very first one I ever bought. The X5 and the X5C were basically staples of the mini quadcopter, so cannot wait to check this out. The biggest thing I think they added with this is altitude hold and headless mode, which should be really useful, but I'm curious to see how the camera does. Lots of styrofoam in here. Very well packaged though, I'll give them that. Here's your user manual. Remote control information there. Feel free to pause if you'd like to see the rest of it. Here's your controller, and actually both sticks have springiness to them. That goes back to the altitude hold, so very much looking forward to checking that out. Other than that, it looks pretty standard fare. You do have a little LCD screen down here. The buttons over here on the left don't actually do anything. Buttons on the right don't do anything. But as we saw in the manual, we have different speeds, we have flips, we have our photo video button here, and all the rest is fairly standard. Over here is the quadcopter itself. Actually really nice design, feels very solid, and the props and motors appear to be much different than anyone I've flown so far. Looking up close, it looks like you stick a fingernail or a knife or something under here to pop this up, and I would assume there's a screw under there that you take off. Unfortunately, I just clipped my nail, so I can't exactly pry this up. Popped it off. But I was correct, there is a little screw done in here. Got it back. I kinda like that design, but realistically I've been a little spoiled by the Phantom 3 with the screw on and screw off props. That's not bad. On the underside you've got your place to slide your camera in, on-off switch, big fan of that. Plug for the camera, battery bay back here in the back, and it looks like it's got red LEDs in the front, green LEDs in the rear. Seems backward, but whatever. And your camera's down here in the bottom. I'm gonna assume again that it's 720p, but that slides on and off very easily. You just put it back in here like this, slide it in, and it clicks into place. I like the build quality. I'm very impressed so far. And that's everything in the top. There's gotta be more. Aha, and the underside. So you've got some prop guards I'm never going to touch. 4 spare props. They would have been useful at one point. I don't know if I'm actually gonna need them or not now. I don't crash nearly as often as I used to, and I'm okay with that. Here's your landing legs, charging cable, screwdriver, and even a little microSD reader, because inside of the camera there is a microSD card included. It's a 4GB card. I'm probably not going to end up using it just because I have had such bad luck with cards that come included. I may test it once and then probably swap it out for something else. And deep inside here there is actually the battery included. That's different. That's a different plug than I'm used to. But the battery is a 3.7 volt 500 milliamp hour battery, and this is what the plug looks like. It's not a JST connector, it's not the white micro low-C, I think is what they call the other one. I have no idea what this connector is. Feel free to let me know down in the comment section. So I'm gonna have to keep the original charging cable and everything with this. That's okay. Let me take just a minute and I'll go ahead and put the legs on, get the batteries in and everything, and we'll see what it sounds like, maybe take it outside. Alright, we've got batteries and everything, we've got it all ready to go. I've gone ahead and added the legs to the bottom here, bright green legs. I did notice here that the camera is still in a fixed position. This is one of the complaints I heard a lot about with the X5C. So when you're flying forward, it's going to point straight down at the ground, but that's okay. As far as the lights, you see the red flashing here in the front. There you go. Green flashing in the back. You can kind of see them. The legs block them out when you're doing this, but they're okay. From the top, you're not going to see a whole lot of lights. You can see there, not a whole lot on top, but you probably won't be looking at this from the top. Bind it up. And we are bound up. We're ready to go. So as far as how it sounds, in case you're curious, I just pushed up on the throttle and now it's spinning. This is probably the minimum, I guess. And then you pull down and hold down and it stops. Push it up again, it starts again. I'm not touching it and it's spinning on its own. Just gave it up a little bit, that's what it sounds like. Throttle hold is great. And then it's back off. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and let this run through a battery one time. I do make sure to mention this as much as possible. The first time you fly a quadcopter, make sure when you take it out of the package, you turn it on and just put it at the very lowest speed it can go. Let it run through the entire battery. That gives the motors time to just kind of adjust. And then after that, I'll charge it up and we'll take it outside. All right, we are out here with the Syma X5HC. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. And this is using the altitude hold, so I'm not touching it and it's flying. Very nice. Pick it up a little higher. We'll try a flip or two. So you gotta hold the right button and then do that. It gives itself a lot of throttle afterward, but not bad. There's the front flip, and the back flip. Let's bring it back down. We'll take a look at the rates. That was a bit of vortex ring state there, but here's your first rate spin. Your second rate doesn't appear to change at all. Go ahead and go forward. This is the second rate. The first rate, much more gradual. That would be the one you'd want to use for filming. The headless mode, you hold down the left button. So now we should be in headless mode. There we go. So we are headless, and it did just beep for a couple of seconds there. Not bad. Now let's turn the video on. So now we should be recording. And you see the lights are flashing there, letting you know that it is filming. So we'll take it up. I'm liking the altitude hold, I will admit that. It's very convenient. And I did test this out briefly earlier. It does have a 720p camera. It does about 10 megabits per second video. The video indoors did not look particularly good, just gonna say that. But it's super stable. I'm just curious how smooth and stable the video is gonna be out here. It is drifting just a little bit though. Let's see if I can bring it back this way. It's supposed to have a control range of, I think, 100 meters. So it should work really well. We'll bring it back in here. More vortex ring state. You don't want to bring it straight down. Let's do a couple more flips while we can. See if we can do flips while we're flying, or while we're taking video. There we go. Yeah, you can do that while you're taking video, so that's good. So video's been stopped now. Put it in second rate, and we'll just see what kind of flying we can do with it. Not really much for funnels, but again, this is not a sport flyer. It's about as fast as it's going to go. It's kind of weird having to pull down on the stick to get it to come down to you, as opposed to just letting off the stick. In a way, I kind of like that. It's kind of freeing, because I don't have to hold the other stick if I don't want to. But it's a very nice flyer, very stable. You want it to go up, you push up. You want it to come down, you pull down. I like that. I know there's a lot of them that have moved in the direction of doing that lately, moving more toward altitude hold. Very nice though. Great flyer. Not a huge fan of those legs, but they're definitely necessary. I think I like the style on the original X5C. And I guess the big thing is if you're not going to fly this with the camera on there, you just take them off, take the camera off. You have a nice little svelte body. When I let it run the battery out the first time inside, it lasted for about 13 minutes. So I'm kind of curious how long it's going to last out here, flying around, trying things. Oop! Boy, that came down hard. I pulled down on the throttle and it came straight down, but again, still in great shape. Held up very well. Ready to take off again. Awesome. There's a really wide turning circle, just keep that in mind. And the good thing about this is it is still small enough and light enough that it could be considered a toy. So you shouldn't have to have any sort of FAA registration for it or anything if you're in the US. I'm just curious to see how the footage turns out, the camera footage. Try a couple of flips. It does not like doing flips. It loses a lot of altitude. Whereas I remember the original X5C and X5C clones had no real issue doing flips. This one just feels a lot heavier. This one flies a little bit more like the X8C, which is much bigger, much heavier. It's still not a bad one. I see the lights are flashing now, so we should be almost done. Yeah, we can't do any more flips. We shouldn't be able to record anymore. And it's coming down. Yeah, it's done. And there you go. Flight time 8 minutes 30 seconds, and that's with some pretty aggressive maneuvers. So really not a bad flyer. You'll have to let me know what you think of the video quality. Like I said, indoors it was not great. Hopefully out here it's a little bit better, and hopefully it's decently stable. But again, it's kind of pointed down toward the ground, but it's very well built. I like the props. It's just not sporty. It's a camera quad. So thanks so much to Light Take for sending this out for me to take a look at. Thanks to you guys for watching. Links down below to where you can find it online, and I'll see you in the next one.